Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
I have another fantastic entrepreneur here and who's going to give us a lot of insight into something we talk a bit about oftentimes, but she is an expert in it. Yasmine Khater she is the Chief Fearless Sales Strategist, and at her own company, she's created a brand that focuses solely on sales. And I love this because, if you guys follow anything that I say on my blogs or anything, you know how adamant I am about marketing and sales going hand in hand. And she has designed her entire program around focusing on helping people fall in love with sales. Sales is a very scary place to be for many entrepreneurs. And what she does is that she focuses on helping them to convert the leads that they've created via marketing. So, Yasmine, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate you spending the time to come in and talk with us.
Thanks, Suchi. It's great to be here with you as well.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. So tell us just a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in loving sales the way that you do? How did this all start?
So actually it started when I was around 14. When I was a kid, I was super duper shy. Mm-hmm. And one day my mom was You edit this stuff? Or
yeah, absolutely. Can totally edit it.
I was like, shit. My mom is a major philanthropist, and she always donates money for all kinds of causes. So one year, it was a time where she was raising money for the children of cancer, and they were selling these raffle tickets. And she tells me, here's a book, sell the book. And I looked at her, and I was already shy. Like, speaking to a stranger was already, for me, terrifying. But speaking and selling was like a whole different level of terrifying. Mm-hmm. So the day I got back from school, she asked me, how many tickets have you sold? And I looked at her and said, none. I mean, nobody wanted them. And she said, how many people have you asked? I said, none. She's like, well, if you don't ask people, they can't tell you yes or no. Mm-hmm. And that's when it dawned to me. It's like I was afraid of it, but I hadn't even tried it. Mm-hmm. And the next day I went and I asked, and obviously because it was charity, it was a lot easier. Right. But it made me realize that unless people are asked, if you offer something that they actually want, they can't say yes to you. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was all about understanding what they want and making them also feel good and giving them what they need. So that's when I started to discover, this is actually very interesting. And then in university, I was involved in an organization called Isaac, which is around student leadership. And also there, they were telling me, okay, we have to, sell these programs and these projects to students as well as to companies to finance them. And all of a sudden, although I didn't want to, I got dragged into it because some of the causes were for me very, very passionate. And then step by step, I'm like, wow, this is actually really interesting. I studied in university psychology. So for me, it's all about psychology. And interestingly enough, it's more psychology towards yourself. Mm-hmm. Because how you feel around yourself is how you also reflect on sales. Right. So if you feel insecure, you feel scared, automatically when you're selling, that's what actually holds you back. So sales is actually a very big journey of personal development for me, mm-hmm. Which is why it's so powerful and so amazing. And then in my career, I ended up working in growing an events company in the oil and gas sector. And that was completely sales driven. And I helped grow businesses and also events for up to $1 million events. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, also when I was working in oil and gas, I also was headhunted to join an oil and gas firm, and they had bought out GE Plastics, and I was responsible for change management, also focusing on sales. So although I didn't plan to fall into this, it kind of just dragged me in, and I really enjoyed it. And I love how people also figure that out, because it actually not so scary, and it's actually the tool to get any kind of freedom that you want. Because if you have a business and you can't sell, then you have a hobby. I agree. And most people want freedom and they want impact, and when you have a hobby, it's kind of hard to do those things, but it's also hard to be true to yourself.
I agree. I agree. I'm sure you run into that quite a bit. Many people think that they're, and I do too, when people think that they're marketing and they're being productive, and they're like, well, I'm selling, I'm just not getting results. So what are some ways that you kind of help people understand the difference of what they think they're doing versus what they should be doing?
So I love killing this thing for most people. Because like I look at it this way, I look at every single business, no matter which industry, whatever sector, it's falling into three separate parts. How do you attract the leads? That's all marketing, right? How do you attract? It's really important to attract the leads, because if you have no one at your party, you can't sell them anything. So you need to have them there. And then second part is how you convert them into actually clients. And then the last part is how they retain them to become long-term customers, to buy from you again and again, and refer people to you over and over again. Now, the thing is, most people get caught up in the glamour of a business. You know, oh, I want to have a beautiful brand, I want to have a beautiful logo, all these things, and they get caught up and overwhelmed by all these details. But in the end, to break it down for you, is like, if you have a business, you need to have clients. If you have clients, you need to have cash. Cash coming in.
Right.
And then when you have cash flow, you have to have profits. And if you have no profits because you have no cash flow or no clients, then you just really have no business. You just have a hobby. And a lot of times those speak words to people, because let's say you have, in 1 month, 0 leads because you didn't attract anyone to your business.
Exactly.
Then for sure you're going to have 0 conversions, right?
Right.
It's a numerical game, and I have this fantastic tool called the Profit Cow, which people can actually go to. It's www.bit.ly/Profit Cow, and it's actually a tool that I created to show you the numbers, because it's not like a joke. If you have no one to sell to, then you're just wasting your time. And business for me is a game, and it's all about understanding how each component, how to attract, convert, retain, play a part in that game.
I love that. So, okay, give us that link again, because that's a great tool for people to go and use.
Yeah, it's bit.ly, bit.ly dash profit, profit cow, so CAL, short for calculator.
Profit Cow, okay. So yeah, be sure that if you guys go ahead and go check that out, because I mean that is something coming from the corporate world. That's something that I know that was very consistent, because I used to manage multi-million-dollar budgets. So everything that we did had to have ROI, and we needed to show what we were spending, what our ROI was, and we needed to calculate those things and aggregate them time over time. But it's funny, because once I transitioned from corporate America to the entrepreneur world, they don't use tools like that. At least not some of the newer entrepreneurs. Like maybe they're using spreadsheets, and if they're doing that, they're really organized. So I love that you created a tool to really get them to get down to the meat and potatoes of what's really happening in their business.
Yeah, and like actually this tool is actually the first level. So in my program at the 5K or in my retreats, we go into a much more higher level. We track everything. Because every investment that you make into your business needs to be very clearly there for a reason. So if, for example, you have no clients, then don't spend 10 grand on a website. It's very simple, right? You have no clients. There's no business right now. So don't make your business become into deficit and be negative because you have no clients. I have lots of clients who have no websites, who are making $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month, starting off testing the idea. Once the idea is tested, they have to reinvest, and they have to build those other components.
Right.
But at the very beginning, don't get yourself in debt for something that hasn't been tested yet.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. Like I had one client come to me about 2 years ago, and she had got this, grant from the government, and she had spent $23,000 on a website.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. She built custom made, completely amazing, whatever. And it was an amazing website, but then she discovered that actually the client that she was going after was the wrong client. Right? And she built out a website for 7 countries.
Oh my God.
At the very beginning, you have nobody. So I looked at her, I said, well, part of that I think is because people have too much money that they spend incorrectly, and also there's a lot of free money around the world through grants and so forth that people are applying for. And like I'm like, what's wrong with you? How are you doing this?
I think you're so right about that, because most people don't understand our client avatar, because they don't really know, okay, what do I love? What is the processes that I love doing? And that all starts from the very beginning. Once you figure that out, and then you can identify your target market, then you know who you're selling to, and then you know what they're going to resonate with. You don't have to, with some client avatars, you don't need all that flashy stuff. You don't need everything to be well put together. Sometimes they want to see something a little bit more authentic, something that maybe has a little bit of mistake. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, completely. And for me, like when I look at the whole, like the three parts, attract, convert, retain, my first goal is always convert. And then once we know what converts, then you go and you have more leads that you can bring in. Then you build your machine. But if you're like attracting, hundreds of clients prospects every single day, and you haven't converted anything, you're actually just wasting your time and your money. And a lot of energy as well, because you're not actually putting the energy in the right place.
Exactly. I totally agree. So let's talk about converting, because I know that for many entrepreneurs, that is a place where they really get stuck. They can do the build up, they can do the marketing, they can get people on their email list, but then it's time to convert. So kind of walk us, don't give us all the juice, of course, because that's what you coach for, but kind of walk us through the process of what you teach people on how to effectively convert their leads.
So it depends obviously on what you're offering. So you can convert in several different ways. The core ones, the easy ones are having a conversation, a sales consult, or so forth. Having email marketing as a sequence to sell, having a launch series, or having even a workshop or speaking. There's many different kinds of ways to sell, but it's about understanding which one works better for you, right? At the very beginning, I recommend all my clients do it through having competitions, through having sales consults. And the reason why it's really important is because that is the juice to end up building your email sequence campaign or building your webinar and so forth. So then you get the customer, you have to understand the customer super duper well because you are in their brains now, right?
Right.
If you go and try to leverage and look at sales in a whole different perspective, what's going to happen to you is you're going to be so caught up in all this information that you actually forget, the fact that you have to go start selling. So if you go and have like a workshop or whatever, at the very beginning, you don't understand your customer, it turns out to be a waste of energy and a waste of time because you might spend weeks preparing a whole sales pitch and then afterwards not really getting a customer and they don't buy, right?
Right.
So for me, the first thing is always to set conditions. And after that, you can leverage that through whether it's teaching them or whether it's through email sequences or so forth. And I'll also share with the readers a very cool template and tool which actually lays out the different ways to actually sell to your customers.
You're so right. You're absolutely right. I was reading one of your blog posts the other day about your 3-step process for getting predictable sales. And of course, if you guys, if you don't know the website, that's Yasmine Khater. That's YasmineKhater.com, and you can head over to her blog. It's a very fantastic website, very easy to navigate. But I thought that the article was really, really great. Why don't you go ahead and kind of walk us through that process, your 3-step process for getting predictable sales?
So the first thing is always about how do you attract your leads, right? And as you mentioned, you hit on spot on. It's about knowing who exactly your leads are. Many times what I see the common mistake that people will have is to try to approach everyone, right? So for example, I'm a designer. And I'm like, okay, but what kind of designer? Oh, I'm a designer. I'm like, well, not really, because there's designing for packaging, there's designing for a website, designing for, print, there's designing for vacation, there's designing for events and actually holding a booth. So there's multiple kinds of design. So if you say like I'm a designer, nobody really understands that. So it's really important to get very clear. So for example, let's say you're a party planner, right? That already is too vague. So getting more specific, party planner for kids' birthdays, right? So then the case, it's like, okay, the first thing to do is figure out, obviously it's the parents who need to get the party planner. How do you attract the parents? So you might realize all the parents are hanging out at the schools. So if I want to go to school, I want to maybe have, flyers at the school. I might want to have like a free guide for parents to go through and how to plan and to plan in a budget. Maybe they're actually worried about the cost. And then once you have that, it's about figuring out a way to actually convert them that works well for you. At the very beginning, it's always you're having a sales consult, but then afterwards you can have on the website a sales page. You can have the email sequence, kind of sharing tips and tricks about something leading to your, back to your sales page and planning up for you. All kinds of different stuff. And then once, like a parent has paid you, that's when it just comes in, like on how to retain the customer. How do you get them to tell their friends about you? How can they hire you again for their other children? How can they hire you again next year for their other kid's birthday? So a lot of times it's a sequence. And the sequence has to work, and it needs to, like at one point you can build up more stuff, but as long as you have one chain attracting, converting, retaining, then make sure that's working well, and then you can add on more attract, convert, retain. But if you're trying to attract everyone to you, it never converts.
Exactly.
It's not specific enough.
Exactly. I preach that so much. I'm like, stop throwing everything. When you work to market to everyone, you market to no one. It makes no sense. I don't understand why people continuously do that. It's exhausting.
I think people do that because people are scared, right? They're scared to own up and like honor something. And to be honest, it's okay to be scared. And at the very beginning, it takes time to figure out what actually is your genius.
Right.
But the thing is, once you start to, do that, you're actually being a service to the world and helping your audience really solve a problem.
Exactly.
But when you don't do that, you're not actually being service at all. And you're just kind of, putting yourself down morale-wise, but also not helping the world become a better place.
Absolutely. I love the quote that you have in your blog that a lot of people think that sales is slimy or sleazy, but really sales is just an act of service that helps your prospects solve their problems. If people really thought of sales more of this way, it would be so much easier for them to close leads. It wouldn't feel like, oh, I have to make them pull out their credit card and buy something. You're giving value. The people want to pay you for the shortcut.
Yeah, and a lot of times what happens is because, again, back to our own insecurities, or we're not really confident about the service we're offering, we feel like it's slimy and sleazy, right? So my little tidbit, that trick for that part, is if you're at the very beginning, charge lower rates, right? It's fine. Most people will tell you otherwise, but charge lower rates to get experience on the full process. To feel confident about the step 1 to step Z, right? Go through the whole cycle. And as you build that courage, increase your rates again and again and again, right? So one of my clients, Emmy, she's been on a program for FFK. Like the first month that she was in business, she went by $700 a month, $7,000 a month, right? Just by doing sales. And she was offering a very low price point, right?
Right.
The next month, she increased the price and she had less clients, but she had a lot more time to work on those clients.
Exactly.
Right? In 1 month, I'm not saying forever, I'm just saying, like, a lot of times people I find obsessed with the whole, like, I want to build this huge thing and everything, and it will happen, but you have to start from the baby steps, and you can't, fast track to the end.
Exactly. I could not agree more. And guys, if you didn't tune in to it earlier, make sure you go back and listen to it. She's given great information, her 3-step process for getting predictable sales, how to convert sales and fall in love with the process of it all. And she gives some very insightful tips as to why people get stuck after the attraction stage, what's really going on in their business. And kind of moving forward, it really seems that when you really look at the holistic picture of it all, it's really more so a mindset thing, either whether it's within yourself or your own product. It's something that you haven't come to terms with. Is that what you're finding a lot in your clients as well?
Completely. I think the biggest barrier for sales is actually setting yourself, right? And a lot of times people are not convinced they can actually do the job really well. So they, question and they really dally or they waste time, because they're not sold themselves. And the most important sale to make is actually sell to yourself.
Right. That's very true.
And the second thing, of course, is actually knowing that it's actually a process. Because, like, I'm all for, the mindset and everything, but you can't manifest success. It actually is hard work, and you have to actually do things. So if you're not doing anything and trying to, manifest it all the time, it's not going to work for you.
Exactly. That is so key. I think people miss that process. They spend so much time. I just spoke about this, about being productive in business. You can't create a goal without a roadmap. You can't just say, I want to achieve $10,000 a month, but you have no idea how you're going to get there. Makes no sense.
And actually your audience is going to love the tool, because the tool is also all about how to actually, when it's $10K a month, how you're going to do that, and you can actually map it out. And it can actually go into details of how many leads you actually have to have each month to be able to do that, whether it's through email marketing or through having sales meetings.
And where can they find that tool at?
So bit.ly/ProfitCal.
Profit Cal. That's Profit CAL. Awesome. So we're it's a little bit running out of time here, but I want to make sure we get these last couple of questions looped in here. So what I'd love to really know is, tell me about your most badass business moment, the most memorable business moment that's happened for you.
It's actually earlier this year, and it's when I made what I made my full-time job in 1 month.
Wow.
And that was when I realized, wow, this is really amazing. Not only can I be of service and make a huge impact on the world, but I'm also making the money to actually, also reflect that as well. And that for me was like, wow, because the more money I make, the more people I'm actually helping, and that is phenomenal. And then also the fact that, like, I launched my program, Earn 5K. Like, I had done the beta launch last year, running this year was pretty phenomenal as well. Because when I realized that actually a lot of my clients were earning 5K, and the ones who weren't were the ones who didn't want to actually be in business, right? But the ones who were doing the work and the ones who were like being productive were actually getting phenomenal results because of the fact that they actually want to do that. And that was like, wow, I'm really being of service and really being present. And I'm so grateful to the work that I'm doing. And that just for me, mind blowing.
Right. Absolutely. You actually, tell us a little bit more. I know you have a product that, before we move on to the next questions, you have a product coming up soon, a program that's coming out in the next couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, so the program is called Earn 5K, and it really helps, business owners, a lot of times they're creative or service based, learn how to attract, convert, retain. So it's really about understanding the whole sales cycle, and then understanding the different things to do to get you off the bandwagon. And the reason why the program is amazing is because we go over like a lot of sales pages, and we also go through sales conversations. So in the program itself, we actually do sales calls, and then through the 3 months program, we actually track your results. So it's very result oriented, very much getting you to think about leads, conversion, retention all the time.
Yeah,
that's very important for me.
That's fantastic. That's really great. Where can they find more information about this? Maybe get on your list to see if they would be interested in that program.
So we're having a 10-day free bootcamp called the Earn 5K Bootcamp. And they can go over to bit.ly/5K. So just 5 the number, K, bootcamp. And they can get all the information. And we start off the bootcamp at the end of the month on August 31st. And we do this bootcamp. It's a lot of fun. Like, people start getting amazing results even in the bootcamp, so that you can actually go beyond that. They're thinking more about sales and making their whole focus around sales.
Awesome. So let me make sure that we get these last 2 questions in here. So what are your, especially with sales, being that you're so sales focused, what are some of your key go-to productivity tools for business?
So my favorite one, which I couldn't live without, is Evernote. Evernote is phenomenal to get me organized because I have a gazillion ideas. I'm super creative as an individual. So it helps me kind of focus my energy on the things I want to do. And then the second thing is Infusionsoft, which is a machine.
It is.
Like, phenomenal. But if you are just starting out in business, please do not get Infusionsoft. It's a big expense for your business. So advice, I don't get it, but like, when you get to the level where you can, it's really a powerful machine that I love. And the last thing is also Asana to manage my team with.
Asana. Okay. Awesome. And last question, what are your key go-to books? The books that have just, that your must reads, ones that have helped you in business and in life?
So the book that I read every single year is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. For me, it was really a mind shift. And every time I read it, I'm like, wow, this guy is super profound. And basically, it's a book, if you haven't read it already, where he interviews like some of the most like powerful, influential business owners at the time, and the lessons that he's learned as a result of that. And just for me, like, it's something that I actually think everyone should read at least once in their life, if not every year. And then I also like a lot Rework by the guys from Basecamp.
Yeah.
And that book is phenomenal. At one point, I gave it to all my clients and how much I loved it. And it's really a shift in terms of it like challenges everything you thought about and you should think about it differently. And my last favorite book, which is also amazing, is E-Myth. And E-Myth is phenomenal because a lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to have a business, I'm going to have freedom. But that comes with also having systems involved as well. So it's great to be, creative, but if you don't have a structure around that, it's hard for you to be able to hire help, and it's hard for you to leverage and scale that if you choose to.
Right.
If you don't, that's fine. But like his philosophy in the book is always about the fact that build a business you want to sell, even if you don't want to sell it, right? And that for me has really helped me grow every single year, just by focusing, let's sell my company, how I do that. And I don't plan to ever sell it. I was my personal name, but it's all speaking about that as like the background when I'm looking at building a business.
That is awesome. I cannot thank you for sharing your wisdom. I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom with us here today on sales. It is like the largest component of business, and so many people, like you say, they miss it. So your business ends up being a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, and then from there, it's like, I think sales is the core, and afterwards, it's all about leveraging marketing. Because then your machine is built, and then you're having more leads coming in the funnel, and you're converting them throughout the way you're doing that.
Absolutely.
But if you can't master that part, the conversion part, it's hard to do the attraction or the retention.
Absolutely. I thank you so much. Again, you can find information on her website at Yasmine Khater, YasmineKhater.com. Be sure to be on the lookout for her boot camp coming up, and get on that profit calculator. That is going to be huge for your business. Thank you so much again for joining us and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.